Joe, obviously the big one is yesterday you had the exit meeting with Luke Jackson. Was there any talk about a potential move at all for Luke?
No, not at all. And look, there hasn't been any talk at any stage in the last 12 months. So it's going to be speculation. It's the industry we're in. But Luke's really happy. He's had a great season. He's obviously grown his forward craft and our ability to put him down there at different times late in games, and he's taken big moments. He's been able to play and grow his on-ball capabilities as well. I think he spent about 65% of the ruck time for the minutes across the season playing as the key ruck. So Luke's in a great place, really happy.
Did you or the club ask a question about if he was thinking about moving? Was that at all brought up at the exit meeting?
No, there was no need to. He's a part of our club. He's contracted for a long term here, so he's a big part of our future.
Have you told him what his role will be next year specifically, and what is that?
Yeah, it continues to evolve in the same way it is. We'd love him to grow a little bit more as a midfielder as well, and to have a pre-season under his belt, working really closely with Joel Corey and the other mids, and obviously the nuance between transitioning from ruck into the midfield, and then when at times he can be used as another tall forward. So he's really excited about all of that and to learn a bit more of the midfield craft. So we'll dive into that in the pre-season, but right now it's time to recharge.
So he was happy with how the year went and where he played and happy to be in the midfield, that ruck combo?
Yeah, he sees his talent as being around the ball, 100%. And he and Sean and their ability to tag team against a key ruck and gradually break them down over the game. And we see that as a strength as well. In the fourth quarters, we could see that both rucks were able to get dominance at stoppage. So the fact that they can do that together and obviously use the talents in their wares. And he loves the fact that he can play as a midfielder. We think there's opportunities as well, potentially, to play as a defensive mid at times and sit behind the ball moving forward, flip with our mid-forwards. We're seeing now the opportunity with Young going forward, Bolton going forward. We think there's more flexibility in our team moving into next year for him to be able to play that role with those other mids as well.
How do you see the list heading into next year at the moment?
Yeah, really excited. Dave Walls has done an amazing job over a number of years to kind of grow it to where it is at the moment. And the growth that we've seen in individual players on our list that I don't think anyone really expected the growth from this year is something that I'm really proud of our coaching and our staff and the way they've done it, but the ability to identify those players. So I don't think anyone expected Paddy Voss to have the season he had. Obviously Isaiah Dudley coming through the SSP, Carl Warner in the season he had from a consistency perspective down back. And then obviously to pick up Murphy in our first round selection. So they're players that really took another step forward this year, and we expect the same growth next year, and the likes of Cooper Simpson and Neil Erasmus to go to another level, and Matty Johnson. So the fact that we've got a cohort in that period where they're starting to get that 40 to 80 to 100 plus games of experience, we'll only see more growth from those players. So we feel like we're in a well placed across the ground from a depth perspective.
There's a wide-held belief that you need a bit more assistance for a Jordan Clark off half-back, maybe another attacking or running player. Do you share that belief?
Yeah, look, I think our scoring from our half-back is actually in a pretty good place when you look at us from a competition perspective. So we think there's some improvement for us, probably more in our slow play, so our ability to have control, ball movement out of half-back, and at different times, our ability to move between modes in game. And there's a maturity to that as well that comes from how we might use the ball out of our backline. And at different times, we've probably been caught feeling pressure and bombing the ball out of our backline. And then obviously that causes repeat entries. But our backline's held up pretty well throughout the year. I alluded to Cooper Simpson. Unfortunately, Walks didn't have the year that he was probably hoping for with a significant injury. We think he can help us out of our half backline as well. And obviously when we go into trade periods, we're looking at any type of player that we think can add value to our team.
One of those players is Judd McVie, you've been linked to. How are talks progressing with him? Are you confident you might be able to snag him over?
Yeah, look, again, we've been pretty open and honest in the fact that we won't talk about individual players, but again, relentless in the pursuit of making sure that we're speaking to players that we think can add value to our club. We've had obviously some really positive outcomes in bringing West Australians back home to WA, and obviously the improvement in their game when they've arrived at the club, particularly in Jacko and Clarkey. So we'll continue to look at every avenue that we can improve our list, and Wolsey will lead those conversations.
Is he the type of player that can do that though?
Judd?
Yep.
Yeah, look, I think he's a really talented footballer. I think that's when you look at players on your list and what might add value, you're always looking for talent that can add value. But how those discussions progress, we'll leave that to be played out.
With still leaving the club this week, Joe, have you got a timeline or I guess a date where you'd like to have a new high performance boss in place?
Yeah, look, it's obviously a significant contribution that Phil made to our club first and foremost. So We thank him for everything he did for Freo, and we look to move pretty quickly, so we've put that out yesterday externally, and obviously we'll look at some candidates, so we might look to go through that process. Ideally, we'll close that out from an external advertisement in 3 weeks, and then look to go through that interview from a candidate's perspective and have someone. We're back on the 24th of November, so want to have someone here ready to go for pre-season.
Does it impact the off-season at all, your players, their programs to be prepared for day one?
No, look, our performance health team, and that's obviously a number of people that play those roles, do an amazing job in terms of making sure they're really prepared with their running programs and strength programs, and work in collaboration with the medical department and players that might need some adjustments here and there. So everything was pretty well set in what that looks like. Jackson Dennis, who's our strength and conditioning managers, led the rollout of that, and he's been around for a long period of time, so very comfortable where that all sits.
Will you
You've
book
got
the
8
trade?
list vacancies, I believe, at the moment. Will you look to add an experienced player to the list, or are you looking at...
Yeah, look, it's something that we're definitely open to. We've had great outcomes. Oscar McDonald, Corey Wagner, these kind of guys have come onto our list and been able to fill some voids for us at different times. Wolsey and the team, as I said, from a draft perspective, something to really be open to. It's going to be an interesting draft with a number of, obviously, academy and father-sons that'll be in the draft this year. So definitely look at the avenues from a mature age player perspective, what that might look like. And also, as I said, the SSP is something we see real value in. So the potential for us to leave a list spot open and actually go down the SSP path again, and that would normally be a mature age player.
Do you have any ideas around, though, the draft and what kind of players you're looking at?
Oh, look, our first and foremost is best available talent, and it's always the way that we've gone about the draft when we look at our first pick. So what our draft hand looks like is going to be really dependent on trade period, obviously players coming in and out potentially, and then we'll look to the draft. But Wolsey and the team, our philosophy is the best available talent.
What is the cost of losing Will Brodie and Liam Reedy? What do you feel like you get to get back at the trade table for those two?
Yeah, look, both of them have been looking for obviously senior opportunities, and the conversations with both players, those opportunities haven't arisen in the last 2 years at our club. So in being respectful of that fact and the conversations they've had with us and their management, we're open to trying to enable them to get to the clubs that they want to get to. So the fact that they haven't played too much AFL footy in recent years and they want to move on to obviously other opportunities, and we're comfortable with that as it stands, we'll navigate what that looks like. I'm not in a position to talk about where it's going to sit and how those trades will work.
There's been whispers about Lachie Neale's future. Would you rule out an approach for a reunion there?
I think there's been a few whispers about Lachie over the journey. So, look, he's an amazing talent. We feel like our midfield's in a pretty good place at the moment. Even in the exit meetings, a lot of guys asking for more midfield minutes. So, look, we feel like we're in a good place, and I'm sure Lachie and his partner and their kids are pretty happy where they are.
Joe Amos obviously had a bit of a struggle in the final. The 3 tall system up forward, do you feel like that's working?
Well, the second half of the season would tell us it does, yeah. We've won 11 out of 13 games in the back half of the year. Our ability to score when we get the ball in our front half, the impact that those 3 talls have had through games, I would say it's definitely working. I think the criticism of Jai at times is a bit harsh because we're looking at statistics of his impact on the scoreboard, but when you're playing a 3 tall system, most of the time there's 1 tall that's off ball that's not actually being utilised that much, and at times that has been Jai, and that's probably because JT and Vossi have had the ball going through them quite a bit. Look, from Jai's perspective, he wants to see some growth in his game as well. He's got aspects of his game that he's working on, and I'm sure that he would love to be hitting the scoreboard a little bit more here and there, but that's not how we grade his game. It's not how we grade the 3 tall system. We think it's an opportunity for us to put opposition teams under pressure, and they're all really good in the air and they're all really good on ground. So it's something that we'll continue to pursue as a club. Jai's 21 going into 22. He's in his 3rd season of footy. I think that we need to understand he's a young, developing key tall that we've got a lot of investment in, a lot of trust in where he's going, and he'll have a really big off season. And hopefully the other thing as well is this year he's had a few ailments in his body, so getting through a big pre-season will be important for him and setting him up for 2026.
Joe, your first round pick, can you rule that you'll go to the draft with that, or is that potentially up on the trade table as well if the right player comes up?
Yeah, it's definitely up on the table if the right player is available for us. But all of those things play out, as I said, in terms of where that pick's actually going to sit. And the value that pick's going to hold as well, and what we think that's important for us to do from the talent that's available through the draft that might add value to our list. We can talk about the impact that Murphy had when he arrived at the club this year versus the opportunity to potentially bring talent in through the trade period and what that adds to us.
So do you lean one way at the moment, given you bought Shane last year and he's had a pretty good year, and then obviously you see Murphy and you're built sort of ready for the now, but you've also got that young list profile. Do you lean which way to get the experience in over a draftee?
Again, it's horses for courses and what we work through over this period, having constant discussions from a list management perspective. We'll get through trade period, and day one of trade period will look very different to the last day of trade period. So it's something that we're just really open to what's the best option for us as a club in adding talent to where we see the needs on our list as we stand. So, it's something that we want to continue to look at opportunities for players that might want to come and join Freo, and if it's the right player and the right value is our first pick, then we're open to parting ways with it.
What's the mood been like in the last sort of 4 or 5 days since Saturday night?
Raw. Yeah, look, we're disappointed in the result of Saturday night because we wanted to go far into the final series. But when we reflect on the season, it's been a real season of growth and a step forward. We had 16 wins. We were under some real adversity in the first half of the year, and we wanted to embrace that challenge. And I'm really proud of the maturity that our staff and our players showed to embrace that challenge and turn the year around. I think it's the second most wins that our club's had in a season, and the way that the top 9 was set up, it probably was a position where you can put yourself in a top 4 in years gone by. But having said all of that, it means that next season we need to go again and embrace the challenge again, and probably embrace an element of us being really demanding on each other, because it was a missed opportunity in how we started the season. And I think that's something that we reflect on. But there's elements of the game on the weekend, and probably that 8 minutes in the second quarter was where the game was won and lost, where we lacked some application to roll and consistency in our structures that allowed Gold Coast to get a run on. But again, the maturity of the group to come back. And ironically, this year we've finished games really well. We've closed out games, and it was something that we focused on with our scenario planning, and we've closed out a lot of close games really well. And we didn't get that quite right on the weekend. But it's really, really raw that we're not playing this weekend. It's going to be hard to watch the footy this weekend for our staff and our players. And I'm sure the Fremantle family, it was amazing the support that we had on the weekend with 57,000 people at Optus. But this is a driven group. We know where we're going. We know what we want to achieve, and we're very clear on what that looks like.
When it is so raw, do you review the game as normal, or do you take a different approach at the end of the season?
I've sat in a room for the last 3 days doing reviews with individual players, so we haven't, as a coaching and football department, reviewed that game in the same detail that we would normally just yet, and the coaches will definitely go through that process over the next fortnight and look at the detail within the game. But at a high level, that second quarter and the role and consistency of how we applied ourselves in that window was an element of where the game was obviously won and lost, and then there's some pieces to how we finished the game that we'll definitely reflect on.
You've signed Michael Frederick for another 3 years, congratulations, but it also means you've signed a lot of players to long-term contracts. Does that put the pressure on this group to ensure they succeed, given that they've backed you and you've backed them?
I think that what we do is we have a lot of trust in the people that we've got. We've got a lot of trust in the talent that we've brought into the club, and we've got a lot of trust in the people we have here to keep developing them and making them better. And Michael's been re-signed as a reward for the way that his football's continued to improve, and so have the other players that have come before him and been extended as a club. But the players are also putting the trust in the club that they feel like we're on the right path. I think it shows that we've got a real strong alignment in the direction that we're taking. I think since 2022, we sit somewhere in the top 6 clubs for wins in that period to now. And I think it shows that the gradual progression of this group, the age demographic of this group, the way that our brand stacks up against the best teams in the competition that this year's shown, I think it's a true reflection that we're all really clear on what the journey ahead looks like, and we all want to be a part of it.
James Aish and Nat Fyfe retiring in the same year, obviously very close friends. It seems quite fitting, doesn't it?
It does seem quite fitting, and Sonny sits in that as well as a Fremantle club great. She just spoke to everyone then, and I think him and Nat might be going on a trip away where there's no reception for a while. And look, it's the bonds that players create at footy clubs will last far and beyond their time here, and that's a really special bond that they have together. So Jim has been a real stalwart. He's played 100 games at our footy club, and that's an amazing achievement. And he's been through some adversity, whether that's been through injury or even selection in the last 2 years. But he's so highly respected by his teammates and his coaches. His flexibility to go inside, go to a wing, become a tagger, lock down at half back. There's something that he should be really proud of, and he got everything out of himself from an AFL career perspective.
Just in terms of Nat, obviously playing days are done. Is there any chance you'd reach out about an off-field role going forward?
Yeah, look, it's something we talked a little bit about, but not in too much detail. Nat's got his fingers in a few different pies, to be honest. I think he'll want to take some time away from footy, but I wouldn't say no to potential opportunities that might arise in the future.